My mind is going. There is no question about it. I can feel it. I can feel it.
As we have seen, however, Mises's regression theorem, and this is what we are facing now. Mises's regression theorem, I call it the regression principle, shows that no money can be established on the market except as it can be exchanged for a previously existing money, which is why I call the UniCoin experiment really just another dollar substitute or euro substitute or whatever local currency it is replacing or substituting for. It is built on top of that price array. It is not resetting a damn thing. Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor, and the IMF has done it. They have made a CBDC powered by artificial intelligence to revolutionize the monetary universe forever. They have found the fountain of inflationary youth, and they are going to replace God himself in a matter of whatever time period they say they're going to do it in. Except they're not. We're going to go into this new CBDC universal payment system between countries to be backed as a substitute for local currencies and powered by artificial intelligence. And while this sounds scary and like they're trying to take over the world, and they are,
you're always trying to work out how to take over the world, but you've never told me why you want to take over the world, Brain.
It all began with a wavy transition and descending xylophone.
They will fail because they are still on top of a pyramid that has been being built and constructed since 1933, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt stole the entire gold supply and used it to back his dollar system, on which the entire world is now based. And I'd like to thank all my subscribers and all my followers and all my patrons on Patreon, where I give a weekly biblical commentary on monetary and economic policy topics and government. And the last one we did was why the Bible and political correctness do not mix. If you want access to that, it's as little as $3 a month. Or you can sign up for the Endgame Investor at the link in the description below. Or if you want physical gold and silver, you can always call MilesFranklin at 855-GAME-END and tell them that Rafi sent you from the Endgame Investor. Let's get into the IMF's CBDC cryptocurrency of love. April 10th, 2023, 9:27 Eastern Time. The Digital Currency Monetary Authority, the DCMA, launches an international central bank digital currency. This is so exciting. Today at the International Monetary Fund Spring Meetings 2023, the Digital Currency Monetary Authority, DCMA, announced their official launch of an international central bank digital currency that strengthens the monetary sovereignty of participating central banks and complies with the recent crypto assets policy recommendations proposed by the IMF and screws over the common man. How does it work? Well, this paragraph explains it. Banks can attach SWIFT codes and bank accounts to a UMU digital currency wallet and transactions SWIFT-like cross-border payments over digital currency rails, completely bypassing the correspondent banking system at best price wholesale FX rates and with instantaneous real-time settlement.
The core element is based on an FTL nanoprocessor with 25 bilateral calolaterals, with 20 of those being slaved into the primary Hyperinflation terminal. Now, you do know what a bilateral calolateral is.
Well, of course I do, human.
So, what does this do? You know, all those banks that are involved in FX or foreign exchange derivatives, where most of the derivatives of the planet are concentrated. And why are banks involved in derivatives? Because they profit off of spreads by buying from one party, selling to another party, and they pocket the difference. Well, if this gets enacted or if this gets used and all those banks are bypassed, what happens to their derivative books? They become worthless because there's no reason to use them anymore, because you have this AI-powered digital currency thingy that can optimize the spreads in foreign exchange across border payments. And you don't need banks anymore, so you destroy your entire system. That's what people don't understand. They cannot get these things going without destroying another part of the pyramid, but they're trying to keep up together. It's not going to work. But let's get into the definition of what this thing is. About Universal Monetary Unit, UMU. Universal Monetary Unit, also known as UniCoin, it's a UniCoin, is an innovation in store of value cryptography powered by artificial intelligence. It adopts a central banking monetary policy framework to ensure it has continuous purchasing demand, minimal price volatility, and annual asset pricing targets. So basically, it's a central bank that's powered by artificial intelligence that tries to manage exchange rates through whatever computer program or artificial intelligence that's running it. We've seen this before. Let's get to it. Remember, Terra blockchain is a group of algorithmic stablecoins named according to the currencies to which they are pegged. For example, Terra USD is pegged to the US dollar. Luna serves as the primary backing asset for Terra and is also used as a governance token for users to vote on Terra, blah, 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 blah. And something happened to it. Anchor Protocol was a leading and lending and borrowing protocol built on the Terra chain. Investors who deposited UST, the peg stablecoin thing, in the Anchor Protocol were receiving a 19.45% yield that was paid out from Terra's reserves.
This is the isopalavial interface, which controls the main ferromantle drive unit. Don't touch that. It'll blow up the entire ferromantle drive.
Such a high-yielding mechanism of the Anchor Protocol, some critics raise concerns that Quan's stablecoin model could function like a ginormous Ponzi scheme. And you know what? That's exactly what it was. Here is the chart of Terra USD. Look at that. People got really excited about this algorithm that was going to manage whatever the value of it to remain the peg through artificial intelligence. Oh, well, it's not AI because this is just an algorithm, blah, blah, whatever. It's all the same crap. And all of a sudden, bam, it falls to zero. And what is this really an instance of? It is an instance of hyperinflation in Luna terms, because the purchasing power of the Luna, which was pegged to the US dollar, fell to nearly zero, and anyone was willing to exchange it for any amount of dollars. Basically, the Luna hyperinflated to nothing, which is exactly what the UMU is going to do if it doesn't take out all the banks and their derivative books first by bypassing them in the foreign exchange market. The thing is, what the people who are scared of central bank digital currencies don't understand is that they cannot reset the dollar system. They can only build another layer of the pyramid on top of the existing dollar system, and that adds weight to the pyramid and increases the chances that it will get crushed sooner rather than later. Yes, the implications of CBDC are terrifying, but the CBDC itself cannot survive for long because it will result in hyperinflation, just like what happened to the Luna. Let's go into what Murray Rothbard says about this. This is a logical argument, a deductive argument that doesn't matter what powers a blockchain, whether it's artificial intelligence or artificial idiocy. It's all the same, because on the bottom, gold and silver are the money on which everything, even artificial intelligence that manages a substitute for a substitute of a substitute of money, rests. We'll begin over here where Murray Rothbard says, the main desideratum in a hyperinflationary environment he's talking about becomes getting hold of real goods, whatever they may be, and spending money as soon as received. When this runaway stage is reached, the economy in effect breaks down, the market is virtually ended, and society reverts to a state of virtual barter and complete impoverishment. Commodities are then slowly built up as media of exchange. The public has rid itself of the inflation burden by its ultimate weapon, lowering the demand for money to such an extent that the government's money has become worthless. When all other limits and forms of persuasion fail, this is the only way, through chaos and economic breakdown, for the people to force a return to the hard commodity money of the free market. Now, I wanted to clarify one thing. Hyperinflation is not a destruction of wealth. It is a transfer of wealth from people with money substitutes to people with money. Purchasing power shifts from money substitutes, meaning gold substitutes and silver substitutes, to the actual money itself. The wealth does not disappear. The purchasing power for that wealth gets shifted. Now, this CBDC or UniCoin or whatever it is a substitute for local currencies, which are a substitute either for the dollar or for gold. And so it is another layer on top of the monetary pyramid. Managed by artificial intelligence, it doesn't make a difference. Rothbard continues, the most famous runaway inflation was the German experience of 1923, as we all know. It is particularly instructive because it took place in one of the world's most advanced industrial economies. The chaotic events of the German hyperinflation and other accelerated booms, however, are only a pale shadow of what would happen under a world state inflation, which is what the IMF is trying to do with its UniCoin. They're trying to unify the entire inflationary system and make it streamlined so it's managed by one artificial intelligence system. And so theoretically, in their minds, it could go on forever, but it cannot. For Germany was able to recover, he continues, and return to a full monetary market economy quickly, since it could institute a new currency based on exchanges with other pre-existing monies, gold or foreign paper. As we have seen, however, Mises's regression theorem, and this is what we are facing now, Mises's regression theorem, I call it the regression principle, shows that no money can be established on the market except as it can be exchanged for a previously existing money, which is why I call the UniCoin experiment really just another dollar substitute or euro substitute or whatever local currency it is replacing or substituting for. It is built on top of that price array. It is not resetting a damn thing. Anyway, parentheses, which in turn must have ultimately related back to a commodity in barter, and he means there gold and silver. If a world state outlaws gold and silver and establishes a unitary fiat money, which it proceeds to inflate until a runaway boom destroys it, there will be no pre-existing money on the market. The task of reconstruction will then be enormously more difficult. Fortunately, it's not as grave as Rothbard puts here, because there's always a pre-existing money on the market. There might just not be a functioning pre-existing currency on the market, but there's always a pre-existing money in the market, and that money is gold and silver. The world is not going to be rid of those monetary metals. There is no way that they can remove those metals from the base of the pyramid. They will always be there, filling up the economic void that is created by inflation. The only question is, who will own the real money at the end of this process? If you want it to be you, then call 855-GAME-END and call MilesFranklin and order some now before the IMF destroys the entire pyramid. Be on the right side of the biggest transfer of wealth that has ever happened in human history. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be excruciating. It's going to be interesting, and it's not going to be boring. This is Rafi, the Endgame Investor, and you can't spell UniCoin without Unic. What does that have to do with anything?
Stinklets. Say auf Wiedersehen to your Nazi boss.